Hello, hello, everyone. It is
Surprise! It's Friday.
surprise. We're a day late. Woohoo!
So,
Just roll with it. And I have to admit, it is my fault. I was
we'll
like,
not worry about it.
"Where are you? Are you doing Weaverbirds TV?" And I was like snoring my head off.
I was
I
sitting
had had
here
a big
patiently waiting.
I had a very big book launch on Thursday night, and it was amazing, and it actually aligns with the theme of what we're talking about this week. And what an important subject, Emma, really and truly, isn't it? We need to talk about this more, actually, because just to help people strengthen their minds, because when you are the master of your mind, and when you learn, are gifted knowledge and have choices, and know that you have choices, it kind of helps you move forward, doesn't it, in life, if ever you're stuck.
Completely. And again, it's all about giving people opportunities, to overcome adversity and allowing them to build the tools that they need. So sometimes talking about these things um helps people to understand there are options, there are things that you can do, and that's what we kind of talk about all the time. There's things
Yeah,
that you can do on a daily basis, even to know the important messages as well. Even when you're feeling well, keep doing them, because
yeah,
that all builds up and creates the resilience, and really kind of keeps you going in times of need, because we all hit walls every now and again. However, it's what we do on the other days that allows us to hit a wall. That's okay. And I'm just calling it that. People call it all different things.
yeah,
And just know everything's going to be all right, instead of maybe going down that thought process of thinking, oh my goodness, this is really
yeah.
bad. This is the way it's going to be for me.
Yes, yeah, keeping out of the darkness. And I absolutely, like, for me, like, I talk about my experience all the time, and but I know that I would not have slipped into the PTSD as deep as I did when I went through it if I had have had my cup full. I wasn't keeping myself well. I was just giving, 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 and I had nothing left to give. And so whenever something happened, it just took me out of myself. It just had a big, deep, profound effect on me. And luckily I pulled the positive out of the negative, and done a lot of learning through it. But it not everybody knows how to do that, or has the instinct or the intuitive guidance, or listens to that. Some people can get stuck in that, because that could have defined me for the rest of my life.
100%.
And that's the thing I want to talk about today, Emma, is when something happens to you, or if you suffer, with some mental illness, how do you keep yourself well, and start to have hope and faith that you're going to come through it okay?
Um, well, there's always times in everybody's lives when you kind of, don't feel it, or are hit with depression, anxiety, PTSD. You know yourself, you experience it. I remember, after having one of my kids not feeling really well
Yeah,
after it, and it can be very, very hard to see a way out, or that life is ever going to be, or that it's ever going to get better. The first thing I will say is reach out. That's the hardest thing to do. It's the last
mhm,
thing that you want to do. However, it's the best thing to do. And I'll explain why. Because it doesn't need to be that hard. If you're able to reach out and talk about it, you're potentially taking days, weeks, months off that feeling. If you
mhm,
allow other people to support you and help you, you're going to get through this quicker. And I promise you, that's the way it works.
yeah,
Not everybody does, and that's okay. And I've talked about things like that before, as have you. That might prolong it a wee bit, but it doesn't mean you can't get through it, because everybody's different. And when you're in those darkest days, or in those darkest moments, you don't feel that you can reach out. You don't think that anybody or anything can help you, and you feel that you have to go through this on your own. I've talked about this a lot, and I always will. We have here a 5 steps to well-being, and I truly believe, if you are not feeling at yourself, if life's kind of threw you a curveball, or indeed you're feeling that anxiety that there's a lot of at the minute, even coming back out of lockdown,
mm,
and people have kind of isolated themselves as well, and you can totally understand. Now, Depression is huge. Like there's over 350 million people in the world that experience depression, on a daily basis. It's huge. And sometimes it's part of our genetics, it's part of our makeup. However, that doesn't mean we have to settle for that. There is things that we can do. And I would say, and this theory has been well proven, and I promote it all the time. It's the Public Health Agency kind of come out with it, and it's the 5 ways to well-being, Karen. And honest to goodness, if you could implement these 5 ways to well-being in your life on a daily basis when you're feeling well, and especially when you're not at yourself, because let's face it, when you're not at yourself, that's the time you don't want to do anything, and
Yeah.
that's the time you should, and really make sure that you have that support network around you. And I always talk about the 5, so I know it's just a coincidence, 5 ways to well-being, the 5 people that you have around you, but they are so important. And people that really know you and know to check in, know to leave you when you need to be kind of left, and know that you're
Yeah.
going to be all right. Maybe you're just having a bit of a lull, or know when to not leave you.
Yeah.
You need people around you to know the difference.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And that is it. Sometimes you just need some time on your own. And
Yeah.
and I talk about this all the time from my own personal, so that hopefully it inspires others. Because I see so many, especially in the business world, women and yes, men as well, absolutely, pushing and pushing and pushing and not pausing. And I know the detriment of that, like you're striving for goals and striving to achieve, and maybe even just really loving what you do. But that it's so imperatively important to just stop and pause when your body tells you so. And you can have a ritual or something in your life where you have it. I Sunday is my family day. It kind of fills my cup up. I'll do some writing on a Sunday, all the things that bring me real joy. And I'm not saying that work doesn't bring joy, but it's good to take a switch, a mindset switch, or and even an energetic switch, to just do that different thing, so that I've got this kind of balance. School holidays, my mindset shifts as well. So it just means that I don't ever seem to hit burnout. But if I have a really intense, say, because I always do a nice big long period of when the kids are at school, I go for it. But in that time, if I'm having an off day, and I have a big to-do list that I'm overwhelmed with, um, I close it over and I go away and I do something that's really kind to myself. Like I love going for a walk along the beach, or just going for a walk in general, or just even just having some time down that's switched off what my to-do list, my tasks, and then whenever I'm feeling better, which is usually later on that evening or the next day, I come back and I give my best to that, instead of pushing through just to tick the box. I only want to show up and give my best, because I'm being recharged by it as much as I am giving as well. So that's one of the things I always stress, because it can really affect your well-being and your mental well-being whenever you're pushing past your own boundaries, and your body and your mind will let you know, don't they, Emma? They let you know when you need
Yeah.
to pause.
And there's power in the pause, and there's
Mm.
power for yourself in the pause, but there's also power in your business for the pause, slow down to speed up. We
Yep.
need self-care, and I talk about this all the time. Self-care is an integral part of being a successful business person. If you
Oh.
know what I mean, you need it. It's a must. It should nearly be written in the contract, because
Mm.
I would be cautious of somebody that was saying, "Oh no, I don't need to do all those things," and you're thinking, "No, you do, to get the best from yourself." Um, and I talk about as well showing up, and show up for yourself. And I don't mean physically showing up to every event that you need, that you need to be going to. I mean show up for yourself when you need those days. Listen to yourself and take a step back. Be kind to yourself as well. So choose those days. So you show up for yourself on that day that you get up and you're not really feeling it, and you recognize, okay, my body and my mind's telling me here I need to kind of pace things. Otherwise, you're just going to spend that day going around in circles, probably, I'm guessing, getting nothing done because you're not feeling it. So you may as
Yeah.
well just slow down. So you show up for yourself in the 2 ways.
Oh my God. It is so, like, people, so many people think and feel that they're failing, but they're failing if they don't listen to themselves and show up for themselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely, isn't it? That's where they're
Hmm.
failing,
Hmm.
if they try and push through, because your body and your mind will let you know they are your guide. They work for your greatest good. So
Yeah.
just to be able to allow that to be, and you know what, the world won't fall down in one day if you take a pause. It
That's
will be
right.
fine. It'll
There is.
actually be so much better, and the people that you are going to serve will benefit so much more from you taking the pause, and that is 100% guaranteed, because we both know we do it.
Live
We
it.
live it.
And then there is the other side of it as well, and like we're talking a wee bit about burnout and anxiety and
Mm,
things like that. And again, there's depression and it's huge, and I'd give out a couple of stats there, and like it can be genetic. It's to do with the chemicals in the brain, and some people are prone to more depressive traits than others, and that's all right. Where I would be saying in that is recognize it and
mm,
understand and know that you might get there, but there's always hope. You always get through it, and implement. We talk about RAP, so the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. It came from America. It came from a lady whose mother was depressed all her life, and they recognised that I can't even think of her name. It's Ellen. They recognised that there was patterns and there was good days and bad days.
mhm,
So they called it a Wellness Recovery Action Plan. And what was done then, when you're feeling well, when you're feeling good at yourself, and you know what's making you feel well, you write down what it is that
mhm,
you're doing that's making you happy, that's making you feel a wee bit better about yourself,
yeah,
and or smells or things that you like to touch, or if there's a book you like to write in. So when you're not at yourself or feeling depressed, you don't feel like doing any of those things, but then you've been kind to your future self, and you've told yourself, look, I know you're not feeling at yourself today, however, do you remember when you done this, it made you feel better? It's
mhm,
nearly like you're being kinder to your future self. So you're preparing this box and these notes and affirmations, and you're telling yourself you can get through this, you've done this before, remember this smell, remember we done this, write in this journal. So when you're not feeling at yourself, if you can take out, they call it a toolbox, if you can take out the box to
mhm,
remind yourself and trigger and give you that wee bit of hope. Yes, you're not feeling it today, try this. This might
yeah.
help. This helped the last time, and it's a beautiful thing to do.
It is absolutely, and that's the thing. And for you've set up now Mental Wealth International to share with people and help people keep themselves full and know how to do that and keep themselves well, instead of hitting the wall,
Yeah.
avoiding it. Because why should we? That's what we're just talking about. Is don't A lot of people just keep going until, and then they try to fix it.
Yeah.
But how about just keeping it maintained and before, instead of trying to fix it when it's broke? So,
Well,
I
that's the idea, I suppose, of the wealth part of it. That's
yeah.
different. So, whilst I 22 years experience in mental health, and that is certainly my calling and my passion, and but I recognise gaps. But there's gaps in everything. So there's
Hmm.
gaps in services, gaps in support, gaps in the terminology, and the things that work and what don't work. And I suppose I put all my years kind of into that. And I also recognise that when you're well, you should still be working towards
Hmm.
maintaining your well-being and getting to that optimum level. I've said it right. I usually say the wrong word there. Getting to
Yeah.
that optimum level of well-being so that you don't fall so far down. And as well, it's about creating cultures in gyms, creating
Yeah.
cultures in construction sites. Like, I mean, those young not even young, just unskilled male workers are 3 times more likely,
Mm.
to complete suicide. Them stats are horrendous. So there's something missing, or there's a
Yeah.
culture there that we really need to bust into and create the stigma. And that's where Mental Wealth International is coming from. Really just trying to support trying to reach out to places that weren't ever reached out to talk about
Yeah.
these things and change the thought process around it, and the culture. Culture needs to
It's the
change as well.
culture. It's the culture, absolutely. It comes from what we grew up in and what we always think is supposed to be. And it's funny because my work then that I do, especially in my writing, and it's not just all about success, it's about living at a higher vibration and being aware of yourself and being so connected to yourself that always have the answers because you know yourself, and you're working towards things, but you're aware of your surroundings. And that's why I am so passionate as well about sharing my teachings with the world and what I've learned because of my life experiences and of how, because people say to me, how are you so positive all the time? And I'm saying, well, I'm not positive all the time, but online I look positive all the time. And that's fine because I want to put goodness out into the world. I want to, but just know that I do stop and pause, and if I'm just not having a good day, I'm just not having a good day, and it's okay. And you might
Yeah,
find my sofa binging on Netflix, and and because that's
chocolate.
where I blur, or you may see me just writing out some scribbles that are sitting in my brain needing to be released.
Yeah,
Those kinds of things because I know how powerful it is to actually physically write things with a pen and paper, but also if you have a story to tell, to put it out, because writing your story is the most therapeutic thing you'll ever do in your life but you have to be very kind to yourself when you embark on that process. So don't do it when you're feeling really down,
totally.
that kind of thing. Do journal when you're feeling down. Release it from your mind and make it tangible on piece of paper because the actual art, act of writing down, physically writing down,
Yeah.
is so, so, so important. But when you choose to write your story, it's a big quest to set and a big intention to set, but it's the most therapeutic thing you'll ever do. But you really have to be kind to yourself because the residue of things that you will have went through in your past will come to the surface, but not to knock you down. They don't come to knock you down. They come that now because when we go through a trauma or when we go through something, um, a part of our body's survival is to suppress some of it so that we can survive it.
Yeah,
Because when we're going through a trauma, it's not the time to heal from it. The healing comes after. But so many people never come back to do the healing because that's going to be uncomfortable, you know. But when you share your story, the residue of things will come to the surface. But it's a time to go honor them and release them. And oh my God, will you not feel so much lighter after that? It is the biggest thing. And I just don't think that many people know that how impactful it is on your life when you take that time out to share your story and heal through it. It's just amazing, from my experience, but from what I've witnessed from other
yeah.
people as well.
Totally agree. And but the same happened when I wrote the Blue Line. I started it and then stopped. I put it down after I got to the stage of the first failed cycle and put it down for about a year and a half and didn't
Mm.
lift it to complete it. And then because obviously there's a shift, there's something that
Yeah,
has to come out. Um, I was in a clubhouse room yesterday, clubhouse, and first time in ages, to be
I
honest with
haven't
you.
been on it in ages yet.
Yeah, and life just takes over. But because obviously it was Mental Health Awareness Week here, and we were kind of celebrating, and we put in the theme. So this year the theme is connect with nature. So it's about getting
Yeah.
out and about because there's a theme every year, and that's what it was. But yesterday the room, Mental Health International held the room, and it was on physical well-being and mental health. And oh my goodness, I'm not joking you. What a room! The
Yeah.
people that came into that room, Karen, the knowledge we had, psychotherapists, we had
Hmm.
people that owned their own practices, and from the UK and America and everywhere, and they all came in and talked about it. And that's another thing really I wanted to say. Therapy, we
Hmm.
need to dispel this myth or this stigma that's attached to going to see a counselor
Mm.
or therapy, because our brains are a machine as well. They operate on a very different level, and sometimes you just need an outside professional
Yeah.
to come and help you resolve things in your brain, put things into perspective,
Yeah.
and help you to understand
They have
things.
the key to unlock because
Yes.
they're trained, so they know to ask the right questions to get what they need out of it. So let's talk about this, Emma, just before we go. So, what happened?
Yes. Oh my
So
goodness.
this book was what we launched on Thursday night at the WM Museum, and the Dr. Bill Saunders down here. Oh my God, what a man! Am I going to send you the recording of his interview, and we'll pop it in
I
here
know.
as well,
Yeah.
because he's amazing. He's worked in this industry. He's a psychotherapist, and he works with people who have all sorts of kinds of things. Like the one he had a in this, there's a story about a man who wanted to eat him. You know, he was a cannibal and things like that. So his theory is that not all, but mental health largely stems from childhood trauma. And when you go back and you find the childhood trauma, then you can actually, there's healing there. And his dedication had us all in tears. So it was dedicated to a man who came to his house, knocked the door, and said, "Hello, my name is John, and please don't hire my disability. Please hire me for the work that I do." So and if you read that story, um, wow, it'll just blow your mind. But when he helps people, he changes their lives.
Yeah.
But he unlocks something for them. So he is the facilitator of that, and it's a superpower. And he unlocks this door that has been closed for that shines the light on people's lives. You know, so many people are maybe in the depths of just depression and can't see any hope or way forward, and that may happen for a few sessions. But when that he finds the right key to unlock that door, it's just their lives change, and it's a life worth saving. It's a life worth living, and it's just an amazing book. And Emma, would you believe that this book has come out, and Oprah has also brought out a book called What Happened to You, and it's
No
with a
way.
child psychologist. It's with a child psychologist. So both books complement each other. And I was like, we did not know that Oprah
Yeah.
was bringing out a book. You know, we didn't. And they're both called practically the same thing, and they both talk on the same subject, albeit um, Dr. Bill talks about, he shares stories, because I'm all
Yeah.
about the power of story.
Yeah.
He shares stories and how he had people through them, so that it's a key to change. But he's putting it up to the mental health system and
Yeah. Oh
saying,
my goodness.
you know,
And
it's it,
Karen, what a thing to do. And whenever you're talking about mental health, because it's different things to different people, it's
yeah,
the same person, given that whole effect of going, oh gosh, that's depression. There's different layers to it. There's
yeah,
different reasons to it. It could be trauma attached to it. It could be reactive to something. It's all different. So to give people a voice, Irvine Yalom, he is a famous psychiatrist and was he a psychotherapist? Gosh, I could be doing him an injustice. He's wrote loads of books, Karen, and done something similar like that. He's put people's stories in it, but he also put his perspectives into
yes,
what he thought about into it, and also he's very, very honest and talks about what he was thinking
yeah,
whenever he,
yeah,
so just to show people in that industry that it's all right to have different thoughts on things as
yeah.
well. However, you have the capacity to heal people.
Yes, it is a privilege, isn't it? And another thing I want to share as well, this is another book. It's called Open Your Mind 2020. I can't see the
Oh,
title there. So
yes.
this is our 8th year of working with um the Mental Health Foundation of WA, and or the Mental Illness Foundation of WA. And it's kind of like the Neve of Australia, or the
Yes,
Inspire of Australia.
lovely.
And so this is year 8 of doing a poetry competition where everyone submits their poem, and then they get to publish it in the book.
Oh, that
And
is
it's the same
beautiful.
every year. And obviously the sunflower is a big thing for them. But and so this is the 8th year. But the therapy in that, in
Yeah.
writing some poetry, the act of that,
Oh,
and
I
putting
love
it into the book.
poetry. You know that. Like, and I mean, we were talking about it earlier on, writing things down, and we talk about this too. Like the gratitude journal is part of my well-being. It is
Mhm.
actually part of my well-being. Like I write it down to remind myself every day what I am grateful for. And I think
Yeah,
if you do it at the start of the day, it just starts your day so lovely. And I
yeah,
mean, the more you're grateful for, the more you will receive. And we are all human beings, we're all energy. It is the way we are as well. And if you can in any way change your mind shift
yeah,
or set in the mornings to one of kind of kindness and gratitude and forgiveness. And I know people could be thinking, well, that's not going to make me well. No, it's not, but
it
it
will.
will maintain a form of well-being throughout. I
Yeah.
guarantee it.
It will absolutely make a difference in your
Yes.
life. I can
Hmm.
guarantee you that. And do you know what? I really want us to do a show on this, Emma, and
Yeah.
even maybe us have a conversation around the life print, my 7 life
Yes.
principles. And let's do that next week,
Yeah.
because these are like tools to be able
Yeah.
to strengthen your heart and your mind
Yeah.
and really connect with yourself. And it's just like you always have it there. You can rely on it because that it works 100% in your favor.
Oh, yeah.
That's the
And that's
thing.
what we need. We need to be, supporting each other,
Mhm.
open conversations, sharing. Through sharing experiences is huge. You know what I mean. We would even work with people in their professions by experience. You can't
Mhm.
argue with experience, and also anything that we've learned along the way. Like, you're able to put them into the 7 principles. When I was talking about the 5 ways of well-being, we need to share bits and pieces and just keep
Absolutely.
conversations going, and that is how you make differences.
Oh my God, absolutely. It's just, it is absolutely that, let's just focus on the
Yeah,
joys. Focus on the joys. There's enough, not the darkness in
yeah,
life. Let's focus on the light, because that's, if you're hanging out in there, you're going to have a better experience of
that's
life.
right.
And we only have one life, and it's not forever. We're here to make the most out of it,
Yes,
and that's what I absolutely 100% believe. And
yeah,
yes, we're going to have downtimes, but the more that we embrace and fill up our banks, then we when the downtime comes, we don't fall so
that's right.
far, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mm.
you can withdraw what you've deposited to keep you well.
Absolutely, that
You'd
is
know I have
mental
a TED talk
wealth.
on Monday, wouldn't you? When I'm coming out
Yeah,
with statements like that.
that is it. But that is mental wealth. And you do, Emma, you have your TEDx talk next Monday. I'm doing mine next week as well. So share with us a little, not don't give us any insight, but just share with us what you're talking about.
Well, I'm going to be talking about mental wealth, and try and get people to think about the concept of really trying to achieve that optimum well-being every day, showing up for yourself. And then, because it's a term that people aren't necessarily familiar with, I'm going to liken it to what people perceive wealth to be, and I'm going to then attribute it to your mindset and your well-being.
Yay! And my talk worth sharing, or message worth sharing, is my 7 life principles, but how to use them to live fearless and on purpose. So
Woohoo!
fearless, can you imagine not living a life without fear? There's no limitations to that
No.
kind of life.
Fear holds us back so much, doesn't it too? It's your perception. It's a perception of something that's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, and quite often something that's not well, it won't happen unless you give it a lot of energy and make it happen.
100%, 100%, 100%.
Oh, sis,
Yeah, so let's keep the
we went
conversation
way
going.
over time.
And it's only the two of us, and you'd be thinking, you just won't go overtime this week.
How did we do that? We're
It's
just going to
just
have to
such
expand
a
our show
topic.
to 30 minutes, isn't it? 30-minute shows now, that's it.
I know. We were supposed to be 20, but sure, look it. We're Irish.
So, guys, I hope that you enjoyed that. And please, if this triggered anything in you, please reach out to Emma, or just find amazing resources online wherever you are in the world. There's so much help out there if it does trigger anything in you. All right, guys, until next week, we adore you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. And thank you for joining Weaverbirds Live TV.
Bye.